Hello everybody, my name is Abby and I have obsessive compulsive disorder. So I've seen some articles that have talked about how this pandemic has been really triggering and just really tough for a lot of OCD and anxiety sufferers. And I've definitely experienced some of that myself, so I thought that I would just talk about that and maybe try to give some tips that have helped me so far. I do want to say that I'm not going to be talking about the virus itself or signs and symptoms of the virus or anything like that because I, one, don't want to send myself into an obsessive compulsive spiral, but also I don't want to do that for anybody else. That being said, if you do feel like even this video is going to be particularly hard for you or might lead to more compulsive behaviors or just might put you in a worse mood, like please take care of yourself and don't watch it. Alright, so first of all, I think that there are two major ways that people with OCD could be responding to this, and well, there's probably a lot of overlap between the two. I don't think that it's necessarily always just one or the other. I think on the one hand, there are a lot of people that are afraid of germs and viruses in general because they're afraid of getting sick, and that might be part of the reason or the reason that people with OCD might wash their hands a lot or be extra careful about keeping things clean, even when there's not a pandemic going around. But a probably less commonly known reason for a lot of these behaviors can also be a fear of getting other people sick. So I know for me, that's one of the things that has been really hard at this time, is that I feel very responsible for my impact on other people and kind of have this what they call catastrophic thinking. So that's the idea that even if I do one little thing, then that could totally kill somebody or ruin someone's life, and it would be just my fault. Although in reality, as me and others may logically know, there are many actions that all come together to cause a result. Now, this virus in particular has been, well, it's definitely been an interesting experience because it almost seems like those fears are being manifested. So now, you know, you're hearing that if you are sick and you go out and you touch something, you touch your face, if you don't wash your hands, then you can get someone sick and they can die. And that, I think in some ways for me, was a little validating, like, oh, see, like, my OCD it's there for a reason. And at first that actually made things a little easier on me. Like, I felt like I wasn't getting as anxious about washing my hands and things like that because I felt like I wasn't getting as much shame for it and I wasn't shaming myself internally as much for it. What I will say is that for me at least, I started to notice that it started to go beyond that. So yes, I do agree that we should be washing our hands for 20 seconds and trying to avoid touching our face and things like that. But also there is a way to become so anxious about it and that you maybe start to take on habits or compulsions that are unnecessary or unrealistic. And that can cause people to suffer a lot. So, for example, if you're washing your hands for a lot more than 20 seconds every time, if you're doing it for a couple minutes, minute, I know for me, and this has just also been an unfortunate side effect because it was so cold outside for such a long time, my hands started getting really dried and cracked and bleeding, stuff like that. It's gotten a little better. I've definitely been trying to put on the lotion. But also, if you feel like you are just in a constant state of anxiety and maybe you think you might be taking things too far, or you might feel like these habits are turning into compulsions, I see you and I'm here for you, and we're gonna get through this. So I do think that there is a balance, and it's going to be hard because there is a lot of different advice out there. Some people say that you have to wear a face mask. Some people just say that you should wear a face mask. For example, And in the end, you have to make your own choices, which for me is terrifying. And so I know that's scary, and I put so much weight into trying to do the right thing and trying to do the thing that the least amount of people are going to shame me for or judge me for. But I'm also really trying to learn that that's a rough life to live. Another thing I wanted to talk about is that I've noticed that my OCD in general has gotten worse, and my anxiety in general. Like, not just about the virus itself, but it'll manifest in other ways. I've worried about, had cyclical thoughts about whether or not I said and did the right thing to somebody, or any of the other typical sort of obsessions that I've struggled with. So things like whether or not I have a certain mental illness, besides the ones that I already have. Those are things that I can definitely spend a lot of time thinking about and feeling anxious about and not getting anywhere. So that is something that I've experienced as well. I've definitely noticed a sort of spike in that, and so if you have too, then just know that I think that's pretty normal. Now, tips and tricks. So these are just ones that I've picked up personally, some with the help of my therapist. Obviously, I'm not a licensed anything, so it may or may not work for you, but here's what I got. So definitely, of course, the biggest one that I've heard over and over again from different support groups and online resources and books is the whole idea of accepting uncertainty. I feel like that's particularly difficult now, like I said, especially when the stakes seem to be a lot more extreme than normal, or at least more people seem to accept that the stakes are more extreme than before the virus. But I think that in the end, that is going to be one of the best ways. I know that that's extremely difficult, and I'm not saying that I always do it, but I have found that sometimes it can help just to distract myself. My grandmother, who I'm pretty sure also had OCD, would say, just think of a stop sign whenever you notice those thoughts. Imagine a stop sign in your head and then start thinking about something else. That doesn't always work for me. A lot of times that doesn't work for me. But what I have done is sort of a combination where I notice those thoughts and then I think, okay, well, I have no way of knowing if this is true or not, so I'm just going to have to accept that it might be and move on. And then I watch a video on YouTube, or watch Netflix, or cook, or something like that. Another trick that I was taught by a very wise person is that there's a difference between obsessing and seeking information. So, for example, if you are worried that you have the coronavirus, then you might look up the symptoms online, or you might call a doctor, something like that. But once you get the answer to the question that you're asking, that's it. You accept the answer that you receive, and you don't look for any more reassurance, because that's how you get caught in that cycle. So it's one thing to wonder, what are the symptoms? Do they match up with what I have? And it's another thing to look at 6 different sources that end up telling you the exact same thing because you're looking for a different answer. So again, that's not super easy to do, but I think that if you can practice it, then it will get easier. Another thing that's helped me, and this has helped both my anxiety and depression, because I've noticed that for me, a lot of times my OCD and anxiety can lead to depression, and I can just get very overwhelmed and not feel motivated to do anything, is having a routine. So I, for a while, was really stressing out because I was watching all these YouTube videos where people were talking about their own routines and how you should try to live during this time of pandemic, and how you should, wake up early and exercise and work and read and blah 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 and have a project, and it was all just so overwhelming, and I just wanted to sleep and lay in bed and not do anything. I also am not a morning person, I'm a night person, and I was having a hard time finding time to exercise. So what helped was a combination of just resources from other people, first saying that you don't have to do any of that right now. This is a tough time. Things are hard for everybody, and you know, if you're not productive, you're not productive. The best thing we can do is to take care of ourselves first. So whatever that looks like for you. What that looks like for me is waking up at 10 a.m. or later, because like I said, I'm not a morning person, and so I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. So I wake up, I make breakfast, and then I was going for a walk. Now I've been just doing exercise videos. Again, I'm not trying to say whether or not you should exercise. I just like it personally. And then I work later in the day. So instead of getting up earlier and working earlier, I just work later because I have more energy at night. And honestly, just doing that has really helped my anxiety so much, and my depression, because I have a schedule that I can stick to. I don't feel like I'm just sitting around like trying to figure out what to do or how to do things. I'm not putting as much blame on myself. And yeah, and there are some days, you know, where I just can't, and that's okay too. And I just, you know, do what I can. I lay on the couch and I watch Netflix or Amazon Prime, and that's, you know, that's that. So definitely, I guess my biggest takeaway from this, my main message from this is to take care of yourself. I'm sure you've been reading that and seeing that in a lot of other places, but it is so true. Please make sure that you're eating enough. You know, eat when you're hungry. Make sure that you're sleeping when you're tired, but not shaming yourself if you can't fall asleep when you want to, not shaming yourself if you don't exercise or if you don't eat what you think you quote-unquote should eat, or if you're not being as productive as you think you should be. You know, we are all doing our best, and our best is good enough. So I hope this helped you guys. It's not going to be forever. Of course, too, you know, it's okay to not be okay and to be sad or be depressed or be anxious, you know, like, it's just, these are natural responses to the situation. But I just really hope that we can all be kind to each other and, like I said, take care of ourselves, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Let me know if this helped, and let me know if there's anything else you would like me to talk about. Alright, bye!